Think we got a Clippers talk live, unless it crashes again here momentarily. I'm trying to get this thing to work, then it tried to schedule it. I didn't set anything up for a schedule. Why is technology failing me right now? Are we actually live or not? That is what I'm here to do as Terrence Mann got paid. So I'm trying to make sure we have coverage on that here on Clippers Talk. Restream, work with me, please. I still don't see the live up yet. If anybody is out there seeing this, they can get it to the chat and let me know if we are in fact live or not, or if the stream is a dud. It's feeling like that right now. Some people might feel like that typically anyways. Okay, I think we are good here to go. Good to go here, I should say. Let me see if I can get my ducks in a row, my words in the right places, and get out a tweet because we are live now. It's happening. I'm going to put out the tweet as there was breaking news with Terance Mann. I will tell you the contract details on this Clippers Talk live as I shout out and put out the tweet here. Clippers Talk live, man gets paid, and I need a link for it now, and then I'll be good. Somebody's in here. They're saying, "What's up, Adam?" Okay, excited about this. We are fully operational once again, as I was getting a little bit flustered and frustrated with this live stream as twice it tried to crash on me. Work for me. Going live now. Here it is. This is the live link at Follow Adam A. So I'm glad we got some people in here. Happy days. Yes, Terance Mann has been paid. That Mexican says. That's a screen name. I'm just reading it and what it says here. But we do have a live link out there now. And now I'm going to shoot this bad boy over to our friend La Murray of the NU, who may drop by. I'm not sure yet, to discuss the Terance Mann contract details. Man, live stream, emailing Law. Would be nice to have his expertise here. People are already asking, is he getting traded or kept with Terance Mann? Let's start things right now. You're listening to a Clippers Talk Live. I'm Adam Osland. Frustrated with some of the live streams that, for whatever reason, failed me earlier, but we're up and running now. And so is Terance Mann with your Los Angeles Clippers, as I do a little bit of a reset, as he just agreed to a 3-year, $47 million contract extension with the franchise. That came from Shams Charania about 1 hour ago. This ain't exactly a news dump Friday now. Clipper Nation is very happy about this. In fact, Old Man Yen says, "Happy Friday, Clipper Nation." Here's David Gibson saying, "Substance over flash. Unlike the Lakers, the Clippers have always done that." Terance Mann is certainly a player of substance and one of my favorite Clippers of all time. He is your longest tenured Clipper, and now he is signed through the 27-28 season. People are already speculating about whether or not he could be traded. Some are reporting he is eligible to be traded this season. We know Ivica Zubac is not. He got his extension money. But this is good news, and I'm hoping he's going to be around for some time because he has been a great ambassador for Clippers basketball and has done whatever he has been asked to do. Does this put him in the running now to be the starting two guard next to James Harden in the backcourt? Since that was much of the conversation we had this week, talking with La Murray, I think it was on Wednesday. Yes, after the presser on Tuesday with Lawrence Frank and Coach Lou, saying that, yeah, there's 2 starting spots up for grabs. Guys are going to be competing. You have to earn it. Earn it, Ryan. Earn this. Sorry, Saving Private Ryan reference. Not sure if everybody's into that. But I am very much excited for the Clippers and for T-Man especially here. This is a well-earned contract. Gets him at about $16 million per year, so a bump of about $6 million up from what he was being paid on his last extension. But this is one of my favorite players. And yes, I thought he and Ivica Zubac were going to get paid this summer. Some people disagreed with that. And they are taking an L and a receipt from me, as I already posted something I said from a few months ago regarding both of these players being very, very likely re-signed on extensions, because I couldn't see the Clippers letting Big Zoo or Terance Mann go. It just didn't make sense. You have two guys entering their prime, one who just turned 27 in Ivica Zubac, and Terance Mann, I think, is about to turn 28 next week. Let me check on this. Terance Mann, yes. Okay, so a couple more weeks. Just before the season starts, his birthday's October 18th. He'll be turning 28. You're getting two young guys that you've invested so much in their prime. That's the way to do things. That's the way to run a business. And the Clippers front office, hats off to them for getting this done. I invited Will Updike and Chuck Mockler on, but they're not going to be able to make it, unfortunately. Chuck does say he loves the extension. We had a pretty darn good clips and dips show for you. I think it happened last night. It's been a whirlwind for me, guys. I got to be honest with you. Like, did it happen last night? Did it happen Wednesday? I've been doing so many of these Clippers Talk live shows recently that it's been hard to keep track of what the last show was, who I talked about. I think we had Carlo Jimenez on, your radio voice of the Clippers, just yesterday, as I'm trying to organize my thoughts here. Old Man Yen says they had T-Man in all the initial Intuit Dome opening advertising. Yes, so they, the organization, must think highly of him. They do. Lawrence Frank was asked about contract negotiations on Tuesday. Said they're trying to get a deal done. We have a listener from Hapon, Japan. This contract means he's getting starter firm promise or not. I don't know if anything's promised. We'll find out. The good news is we'll have a little bit more clarity on Monday because it's media day at Intuit Dome for the first time. Going to be a lot of fun. Starts at about 10 a.m. I'll be there. I'll have all your media day coverage you could ever want. I'll be live streaming things. I'll do probably a couple of shows afterwards, right afterwards. I am excited for Clippers basketball to get underway, and now I'm excited for T-Man. Jay says, I've been saying this since they all signed the last beam at Intuit. I don't believe in curses, but T-Man was the first to dunk it into it. If we trade him, this is how it starts. Let's go Clippers. Well, hopefully that is not the plan. This doesn't look like anything close to a sign and trade situation. Roy says, how soon can he be traded after this extension in theory? My goodness, guys. How quickly we turn on our own in Terance Mann. Tim Bontemp says Mann's deal is immediately eligible to be traded. Sources told ESPN. That's interesting. I just don't see it happening right now. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen at some point. You know, there are going to be moves in the rosters, going to be fluid for the next couple of years, I think, in very significant ways. It's a very tradable contract. You can certainly make that argument with Terance Mann, but you can never, as my guy Dime Dropper likes to say, you can never have too many wings, 3-and-D guys in today's NBA. Evilbot said, so you have time for clips and dips, but they don't have time for Clippers talk. Come on now. This just sprung on us. We planned out that clips and dip. We didn't know Terance Mann was going to be signed today to that extension, but we are all happy about it. Roy says, just saying, Mann plus PJ plus Norm for a star if we are a top 3 seed. Interesting thought. I don't think those 3 guys are necessarily getting you a star. If you mean someone like Zach LaVine, yeah, you'd probably be in the ballpark trading those 3, and we know how the money could work out. We've been talking about this all summer long, but the problem with Zach LaVine is he has an option in the summer of 2026 on his deal that's about $50 million, which if he takes it, then that takes up a lot of the salary cap during an off season where some pretty significant guys could be available. And we've been talking about this maybe shadow plan that the Clippers have of reloading in 2026. We have no idea if that's going to be the case or who's going to be available then. People keep bringing up that Luka Doncic and SGA can both be free agents. In theory, yes, they can be, but we don't know. They could sign extensions before that. They're with good winning organizations. Luka Doncic was just in the NBA Finals. The OKC Thunder, they have most of the Clippers picks. They're set up for the future. They just brought in Alex Caruso and her old friend Isaiah Hartenstein. So I suppose it couldn't be all positives right now. Roy, I wouldn't do that for Brandon Ingram. I don't know if the Clippers would either. You have to pay him immediately after this season. That's why nothing has happened between him and the Pelicans in moving him yet, because every team that brings him in knows he could be a rental. You want to lose possibly Terance Mann and Norman Powell for nothing because you bring in Brandon Ingram and you're not able to re-sign him, or he just doesn't have a great year and you don't want to give him $150 million plus, which is what it's going to take. Jeremy Grant, not a star, but he is on a contract deal that is pretty hefty. He just signed a 5-year contract extension for $160 million with the Portland Trail Blazers. Let me just review this for you. So this year he's making $30 million. Next year, $32. The year after that, $34. The year after that's a player option for $36. So that also would not fit in the timeline of having plenty of money available in the summer of 2026 if you bring in Jeremy Grant. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I did have to clown my guy on X, even though I love him. He was arguing with me. What was this? Back in July, talking about how much cap space the Clippers could have. And I said, well, they're very likely extending Ivica Zubac and Terance Mann. So I don't know if they're going to have $100 million worth of cap space, which is what he was saying late in August. And he was kind of against. He said there's a real possibility, especially with the way T-Man said we were talking about in a contract extension last offseason, that things and feelings could change. And I said, bro, it's not that real of a possibility. Now, to his credit, JD13 said, you could be right. I said, I am. Dear God. I said, I am. I'm ridiculous with the receipts. I will try to do better. This is the conversation. Yes, I said I am. When he said he very well could be right. Adam, stay humble. Stop being so cocky about it. I guess it's too late since I already retweeted this thread to prove that I was right about them giving contract extensions to Ivica Zubac and to Terance Mann. I'm just happy for them. Who cares about me being right about this? That's not what's important here, guys. Woo, boy, I need to relax. Twitter does not bring out the best in us, and that was revealing. Yes, Roy, you forgot about that extension. Why did Portland do that? Because Portland has a very tough time enticing free agents. So when they can get somebody like Jeremy Grant on their team and they can keep him, they're going to. It's still a tradable contract. Someone might do it at some point, so it's a good asset for them. Camus Mio says 8 points per game, not a lock as a starter after 5 years, scared of his own shadow and won't shoot. 3 years guaranteed with no option is wild. What's wild is your statement. I don't know if you realize this, but Terance Mann has been playing next to Kawhi, next to Paul George, next to James Harden, and they don't necessarily need a lot of scoring when you had all three of those guys. That's not what he was there to do. Let me try to explain the impact of Terance Mann very simply. Since the end of the 2023 season, when he got into that starting lineup and they went 10-4 right before they brought in Russell Westbrook, and that upended things. Terance Mann was no longer starting. We know it's been herky-jerky with him in and out of the lineup, playing different positions. He has been an unbelievable person and player by the way he's handled so many different shuffling lineups and rotations and positions he's been asked to play over the years, and he has done so like a good soldier, and I'm glad he's being rewarded today because of things like that. But with the Clippers, since that time, end of the 2023 season, when they started off 10-4 with T-Man in the starting lineup, they have been over 30 games over 500 with him in the starting lineup when you take it from that point through all of this season. Terance Mann is a winning player. He does the little things that help you win. Like, I don't know, he gave him a chance to take out the Dallas Mavericks that went to the NBA Finals this past season without Kawhi Leonard for the most part, and he wasn't right when he played in that series. He helped give them a chance, even with Paul George only averaging 19 points per game because he was getting locked up by Derrick Jones Jr. in that first-round series. Terance Mann gave them a chance because why? He held Luka Doncic to 40% shooting in that first-round series. His defense was stifling. It was Clamp City. He was fantastic. If you don't understand that type of value, when you're worried about him, well, he only was getting 8 points per game in his career. Like, that's not what Terance Mann is necessarily about. Does he need to take catch and shoot threes? Can he not shy away from those? Yeah, he does. He needs to make sure to put them up from the outside, and that was emphasis at the press conference on Tuesday, of course. So does Derrick Jones Jr., so do a few other guys on this team. When in this offense, especially right now, James Harden finds you, you need to put them up from the outside because it helps with spacing. If you are a threat from three, that's going to help with spacing everywhere and stretching the floor and creating space for the two best ISO scorers in the league last season, Kawhi by a wide margin, and then second was James Harden. The role players, the contributors, they have to take and make those shots and make the opposition have to close out on them. Comist Mio says he doesn't warrant a bag on the open market. That's why he stayed. You have no idea what his thinking was with his agent. Just stop, man. Take the L. Terance Mann haters, take the L today. Stay in shambles. If you can't understand the value of Terance Mann, you probably have a hard time with modern basketball in general and understanding what wins you games. Terance Mann is a winning player and has a ton of intangibles. 30 games over 500 the last year and a half with Terance Mann in the starting lineup says it all. That's how good he has been. I think it's actually closer to 40. I haven't checked the number in a while, but yeah. Oscar, he says, I don't get what the Clippers are doing. Paying a guy $16 million per year over 3 years that's just entering his prime, that plays multiple positions, is a 3-and-D guy, great in transition. Let me point out something else. Terance Mann haters, they just can't stop themselves. They can't help themselves. Let me point out something else with Terance Mann you may not be aware of that I'm sure was used in contract negotiations as it should be because he is elite in an area that people don't realize. Of guards in this league this past season who took at least 150 shot attempts in the restricted area, only Luka Doncic was better than Terance Mann there. Luka shot 75.9% in the restricted area. Terance Mann was second at 75.7%. Right behind him was only second to Luka Doncic in guards when it came to field goal percentage in the restricted area. Not a fluke. How do I know this? Because the year before, Terance Mann was third in the league, only behind De'Aaron Fox and Steph Curry, ahead of Luka Doncic. When it came to field goal percentage in the restricted area, he finishes. He's great in transition. He's great at getting downhill. And some people are not great at understanding how good he is for this team. Comest Mio, this is the last time I'm putting you up. Probably going to ignore you after this. Hit the ignore button. I've explained through stats, like I just did, advanced ones. I don't know if they're going over your head. I hope not. I've explained with the winning record that is absurd with Terance Mann in the starting lineup, here's another one for you. He shot 44% the last 50 games from three last season. After getting off to a woeful start from three, Terance Mann, the first half of the year where he couldn't figure it out from beyond the arc, 25 games in, he was shooting 21.4% from three. The last 50 games of the regular season, he shot 44% from three. He shot 45% in the playoffs against Dallas from three, while holding Luka Doncic to 20% from three and 40% from the floor. You just can't help some people. Like, they just are too stubborn to listen, and it's sad. Melvin Powell says the Clippers are going to renegotiate Chris Dunn contract in for a similar deal to Terance Mann. Melvin Powell is a Chris Dunn disciple. I'm a big Chris Dunn fan too. He's obsessed. He is someone that loves to talk about him and is very optimistic, and I understand that part of it because I am too. And we'll see. He may be in a battle with Terance Mann or that starting two spot with Norman Powell. Hey, maybe KPJ is in the mix. I don't know. The glowing things that Coach Lou said about Kevin Porter Jr. on Tuesday made me feel differently about the situation. Amin Hassan says Terance plays hard and is amazing on D. Well, he was in that series. I thought overall he was solid during the regular season, but he could be better. He's capable of more. Again, it's not easy when you're playing all these different positions all the time. You're filling in at the 2, the 3, the 4. He's guarded centers before. It is a guy who is so versatile and is so important to this team. And I'm hoping he stays for a long time. And just because it's a very tradable contract and just because apparently he's eligible to be traded immediately, that doesn't happen. I'm guessing that is not why they made this deal, because that's such good value for a player like Terance Mann. Huge. This is big. This is big for the Clippers. It's big for Terance Mann. It's big for him having the inside track, as I said yesterday, for that starting two-guard position. I'm trying my best. JMI 1324. I'm trying my best. Some people just, they can't be helped. Like this guy. I hope you're woefully wrong for the sake of the team. I'm guessing you're wrong a lot because you probably never even thought they'd sign Terance Mann because you've probably been a hater for this long. You can't help some people. I'm telling you. Jay says, no post-game talks after preseason games, right? Have you seen your seat yet at Intuit? Or do I need to call Steve? LOL. Whoever can't see the importance of Mann is not a Clipper fan. It's funny to me. My guy Zach Lowe, who got let go by ESPN yesterday, and I had a big rant about that with Carlo Jimenez on the live we did yesterday. He has been a huge Terance Mann guy for a long time. Those in the know, those who know ball and aren't just hoopers talking about inefficient players that have a big bag, but they don't exactly score at a high rate, see the worth with Terance Mann and how important he is being a glue guy with this Clippers team and how important it is to have wings and 3-and-D players in today's league with all the three-point shooting. Because as much as you say, well, Adam, you just pointed out that for 25 games, he only shot 21% to start off last season from three. Yes, he turned it around and shot 44% after the calendar turned over in 2024. Here's the thing. I can look back in his entire career, and he has been with the Clippers and was drafted 48th in 2019. So he's been with them through the entire 2-1-3 era, and he is the longest tenured Clipper, guys. Make that a Ivica Zubac. But Terance Mann, he didn't start off a Los Angeles Laker. That is no fault of Zubac's. I'm just saying, he is technically homegrown. It feels like that with Ivica Zubac, though, sometimes, because he's at least been in LA his entire career. And God bless Magic Johnson for handing him over for Mike Muscala. Oh, it was a beautiful day. I still couldn't believe it. I'm watching the, what is it called? The Kion at the bottom of the screen, ESPN, the little stat ticker scrolling by. And I saw the trade go through at the very end of the trade deadline. And I said, there's no way that's accurate. There's no way. There's no way they just got a Visa Zubac for Mike Muscala. That couldn't have happened. There's no way. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It did happen. It did. My point about Terance Mann three-point shooting, though, he's taken 721 threes in his career. He has shot, for his career, 37%. So for those who are saying, well, you can't trust the volume, I'm trusting almost 1,000 shots. He's an above-average three-point shooter that has had a season where he shot 42% from three. That's what I'm looking at. It's difficult with these T-Man haters. Like this guy. I was initially a T-Man fan. Now I'm just using him as someone to play off of here, I guess. I'm having fun with it. Back to the therapist talk here. I'm going to need one after this. Melvin Powell admits to being a Dr. Shapp-like disciple for Chris Dunn. Here's why. Facts, I'm a huge fan, bro. Reminds me of old school defensive point guards of the 80s and 90s. I could see that. I could see him as a Greg Anthony type, a Bulldog type, a great point of attack defender. That's who Chris Dunn is. He's better in that respect than even Terance Mann is. And Terance Mann is very good, but the way Chris Dunn navigates screens, elite. Derrick Jones Jr. also elite in that category. So now you have, when you look at guys that can guard and shoot the three ball that are role players and contributors, Terance Mann is locked up. Derrick Jones Jr. is locked up. Chris Dunn's on the team now. Nicholas Batum is back on the team. There's 4 guys. I'll make it 5. Amir Coffey. There's 5 guys that, and I know Derrick Jones Jr., he needs to get his three ball shooting up, and hopefully what happened in the playoffs translates to the regular season now, because he only shot 34% in the regular season for the Dallas Mavericks before shooting 37% during the playoffs for them from three. I need Derrick Jones Jr. to be closer to 40% from three than 30% from three this season. But that's 5 guys that can guard multiple positions that will hound you defensively. Hound you. And also provide some offense. And Derrick Jones Jr. is more than just, obviously, if he can hit threes, because of his bounce and athleticism and the way he can get up. And the Clippers haven't had a guy like this since, man, I don't know. I can get up like this, obviously Blake, but just a dunker like this since Trez. It's not like Kawhi and Paul George didn't have crazy dunks, didn't have posters. And Kawhi is a left-legged leaper in the league. Kawhi jumps off his left leg. His surgeries have happened on his right leg, so he could still get up. That's not an issue. But someone who is a rim runner and a lob catcher to this degree, man, it's going to be fun to watch with Derrick Jones Jr. Oh, look at the hater. I wish I knew how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to say Mio. Amin. Kawhi playing 50 to 55 games max. Today, I would probably sign up for 55 games. I would. I probably would. Stephen A. was right. Kawhi needs to retire. He's stealing money. Luis, the season hasn't even started yet, and I am hopeful that what the Clippers are doing right now with what came out on Tuesday regarding his knee and the swelling being almost gone, I am hopeful that them saying he's not going to participate in drills, he's going to be strengthening the knee during training camp, is just them being overly cautious, erring on the side of caution, proceeding with an abundance of caution because of what has happened and occurred the last 4 years. And it's not that he couldn't do it. It's why risk it in training camp? My God, do you think a player at 33 of Kawhi's skill level really needs to participate in training camp like he's going to learn something? We got a doomer. Look at the doomer, Luis. Sneeze, Kawhi out for the season. Just How about stay out of my chat the rest of the season, my guy? There's a lot of people hating right now, and I don't like it. Amin says, speaking of dunks, I remember that dunk Terance had on AD. Oh, he got Anthony Davis this past season. Terance Mann, good in the dunker spot. What I'm hoping is this flew under the radar a little bit this last season, and it's only on 22 attempts, so I don't know what to make of it. I'm just hoping. He's turning 28. He's entering his prime. Terance Mann gets paid today. On fadeaways last year, it was just 22 of them. On fadeaways, he shot 55%. That little turnaround fadeaway he has shown in the mid-range, there's been an improvement there. It's not a big enough sample size to put a ton into, but it looked really good last season. So 22 attempts last season on those fadeaways, 55%. If he could shoot anywhere close to 47% on fadeaways like that, that's another way he can attack and help offensively. Because, yes, he does need to score more because there isn't a Paul George on this team. But you just want Terance Mann to grow and not necessarily even have to expand his game so much. Just what you do it a little bit better. That's progress. That's development. That's what you want to see from young players. Just continue to strengthen strengths. And he's really good at a lot that helps you win ball games now. Some people can't see that because they're haters and trolls. And they just, they don't have a high basketball IQ. I don't know how else to tell you. No Kawhi slander is acceptable. I don't give an F, says JMI 1324. Here's that Mexican. He says this about Kawhi. Worst case scenario, Kawhi is out for the first few games. What's your starting lineup? Ooh, I like this question. I like this. I'm interested in this. My starting lineup. First, I'll give you my starting lineup with Kawhi. I want it to be this. I'm hoping for this. And after today, it only strengthens my resolve or my confidence in this happening. James Harden, Terance Mann, Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac. That's the ideal starting lineup to me. Now, could I see Norman Powell because he offers much more scoring as the two guard? Yeah. But then what happens to your defense? Probably getting shredded at the point of attack. Unless Norman Powell reverts back to how he played defense with Toronto when they won a championship. He was a much better defender then. I don't know what bad habits he picked up at his stop in Portland playing next to Dame and CJ McCollum, but it feels like that has turned him into an average to minus defender, a below average to minus defender. That's who he's kind of been. So this question, I will answer it. I'm going to get to it. Who's your starting five if no Kawhi? It's probably Nico Batum playing the four, unless you slide guys up like this. Derrick Jones Jr. plays the four. Terance Mann plays the three. Norman Powell then plays the two for more scoring if Kawhi's not there in the starting lineup, next to James Harden. Smaller team. Rebounding is going to have to be a priority, as it is already. But if you don't have Kawhi at the four and you're sliding up Derrick Jones Jr. there, they're going to have to get by collectively with their defense and rebounding. But it's an option to get a little bit more scoring juice in there, I think. That's my guess. Now, let's say Kevin Porter Jr. goes nuts in the preseason. In training camp, he looks great. And that really changes the equation then. Like, in a way that I didn't see coming based upon what Coach Lou said just the other day. Saying if they're going to have, basically, I'm paraphrasing, success this season, he's going to have to be a big part of it. KPJ. If he's not suspended by the NBA, and we don't know what's going to happen because of his off-the-court transgressions, and he plays well in preseason, And he looks good in training camp. And by the way, if he was suspended early enough, he wouldn't be available in the preseason even. Lob Murray pointed that out the other day here on Clippers Talk Live. Then maybe, I don't know, Kevin Porter Jr. could start or get an opportunity to. If Kawhi's out, if other guys are out, I could see it happening. Evil Bot says this. No matter what happens, the Clippers will get the 6th seed this season. Let's effing go, Clips. From your lips to the basketball god's ears. If they could get the 6th seed and stay out of the play-in, all right, we're in business. If they can do that while keeping Kawhi healthy for that first-round series, they're in business. Nobody would want to see that team. Whoever finishes third in the West would not want to see a healthy Clippers team in the first round. Jay says, Terance Mann is going to be my next jersey. That's that. What color are you going with? You going to wait for the red? You get a blue, a white, a lighter shade of blue with their City Edition jerseys with the clips on the front? What are you going with? Oh, has Saul turned into a Paul? Chemist Mio says, does Bones see minutes with the second unit or does Dunn take those minutes? He says he's done with the negativity. He's going to ask some real S now. Does Bones see minutes with the second unit or does Dunn take those minutes? Dunn takes those minutes, dude. Dunn takes those minutes. My guy, he's taking them. They didn't bring in Dunn and didn't bench Bones so many times last season for Bones to all of a sudden get the starting role. See, this is why I kind of think, unfortunately, because of this question, it leads me to believe that Chemist Mio just doesn't know ball. Chemist, how on earth would Bones get an opportunity before Chris Dunn when you look at the difference in defense between them and the other guys they're going to be playing next to in the second unit? You can't play Bones next to KPJ and Norman Powell. Where's the defense? Chris Dunn is that guy. Do you watch ball, man? Man, all that hating earlier makes a lot more sense now. You are kind of out to lunch. William Blast says, Adam, I need your hats. The exact one? I don't want to give it away like that. Come on, man. I like this hat. Check out the flagship store. You can get it there. Oh, thank goodness. He's leaving the chat. William Blast had to blast out of here. He's not leaving with my hat. He ain't taking this. What happens to Bones? Good question. Good follow-up. Not a casual here, like Miost. G Icon wants to know what's going to happen. And let me say this. I've had questions this offseason regarding PJ Tucker and Bones the entire time and whether or not they would be at training camp. If they are, it's because the Clippers could not find a partner to trade with. Because obviously, they were on the outs. Now, I know PJ Tucker started the last game in the playoffs. That still perplexes me. And kind of, I don't know, bullied his way to getting minutes somehow last season. He got 3 different opportunities after Coach Lou was like, yeah, he's 75. You know, he's gotten paid. He was joking about his age, but it sure seemed like they gave him a real shot. He didn't look good. The minutes next to Ivica Zubac was a different type of death lineup, a self-inflicted death, a really bad, disorganized lineup that got killed minutes-wise and made no sense. But they tried it just to give PJ Tucker minutes. Then he complained. Then he got sent home along with Bones before the All-Star break because they weren't traded and they were disgruntled and upset. And the Clippers sent him home, rightfully so. They're not going to be team players. Sorry we couldn't find trade partners for you. Sorry, PJ Tucker, who complained to various media outlets about saying that he never wanted to come to be a Clipper. He didn't sign up for this. I'm paraphrasing. It's like, guy, well, they had to take on your contract. You think they wanted to? I like PJ Tucker. I have defended him at times. I have said he can work in certain situations. Couple minutes here against Nikola Jokic. Couple minutes here against Zion Williamson. And we saw it a little bit. But, my God, he's 39 now. He opted in to his player option for $11 million. So he could have been a free agent if he wanted to. He could have gone anywhere. I just don't want to hear the complaining this season about minutes or anything like that if he's still on the roster. Because he's getting his money. Good for him. If he can find a role, if he can beat out somebody in training camp, good for him. That'd be great. But I don't want to see any bad vibes at training camp. I don't want to see guys who are already frustrated with their position. So if they're both there, that likely means the Clippers weren't able to get a deal done. There will be a competition. There will be an open competition. Hey, if they shine, I think Coach Lue is going to find a spot for him. I just think it's very unlikely. For PJ, because of his age, because of how he looked last season. For Bones, because of his attitude at times, and because now they brought in Chris Dunn. Now they have KPJ. Russ may be gone, but there's two other guys he has to fight for playing time with. And he is a defensive liability. He can work with certain lineups. And you know I love Bones Highland. I am the holder of the skeleton key. But I just don't see a path to him playing on this team now. It's going to be difficult. I hope I'm wrong, man. I really hope I'm wrong because I would love for Bones Highland, who I think can thrive as a backup point guard in this league. I really do. I think he is good enough because of his three-point threat, because of the passer he is. And last season, he was able to get to the basket much better. He improved himself in that area. And in training camp last season in Hawaii, who was the guy that everybody praised as making the biggest leap? It was Bones Highland. He impressed everyone. And he had that job for a second. But then they brought in James Harden. That moved back. Russell Westbrook coming off the bench. You know my feelings about Russ. I love him, but I think the Clippers probably are better served last season if they had Bones as the backup point guard. And he had that time to show what he could do. I think that would have been huge for them. But I understand it. Russ was a vet. Now he's with the Denver Nuggets. Alonzo Lopez says, can Lawrence Frank turn Bones and PJ Tucker into something good for the Clips? Like someone from the Blazers, maybe. Like who? Who are you talking about? Who's that guy? Are you talking about a certain backup center on the Portland Trail Blazers? I could see that. If that's where you're leaning, I could see them swapping guys. And granted, Robert Williams has been injury prone. But if they could get him for PJ Tucker, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I don't know exactly why Portland would. You're saying they throw in Bones too, and that's what entices them? Maybe, but with Scoot there, I don't know. I don't know if that would be of interest to the Portland Trail Blazers. William Blast says he should have been cut when he caused that distraction in February. Well, you still got to eat the contract. And he did start a must-win Game 6. I don't know how. Evil Bot says, I like PJ, but not at his price. Evil Bot is using a picture of me. He's looking to get banned. I'm definitely not going to go to him anymore. William Blast said, just eat the contract. What I just said. He already mentioned that. Yeah. Cut him. You could just send him home. You could. But it'd be nice to get something. I don't know. You know what would be nice? If at 39 years of age, PJ Tucker realized where he was in his career and was just a good vet and a good soldier and was helping young guys. Because I think he did some of that last season, but also he might have been a bad influence on Bones Highland because they were both sent home for insubordination around the All-Star break. PJ Tucker, in his prime, I would love on this team. He was one of my favorite players. I love guys like that. He played like I used to in intramurals. Hard-nosed defense. Could guard multiple positions. Yeah, in a few minutes here and there against the right matchup, he can still do some of it, but really? Is he going to be playing over? I'd rather see Kai Jones get an opportunity because he's young and we don't know his ceiling. Mo Bamba's the backup center. Yeah, it is a tough one. We'll see what happens during training camp. Bro, what does PJ even bring anymore? Toughness. I don't know. He was turning down 3-pointers. He couldn't hit any more from the corner. That was his bread and butter. But I did see some toughness against Jokic a little bit. We're talking, a couple of minutes, literally. Just a change of pace guy to guard some of the bigger bodies in the NBA. He's got shoes. JJ the boy points that out. Lots of them. This has come from Jay in Southgate. So I'm a fan. Took my son and we couldn't get in because the facial identification wasn't working. My son was so mad at me a week before the Usher concert drama at Intuit. You couldn't get into the flagship store because of that? Because it worked for me. It worked perfectly. Remembered my name. I was able to walk out with some gear. Charged me right then. It was easy. Amin says regarding PJ Tucker, he's not respected out there offensively. No. So you're playing 4-on-5 on offense with PJ Tucker. And he was one of the main reasons they blew a 21-point lead to the Lakers. I think that was true. Y'all better off with Marcus Morris over PJ, says Russ the Builder, who has a picture of Russell Westbrook in a Thunder uniform putting up a brick. No, not a basketball. He's shooting a brick. Who else do we got here? Adam, should the Clippers consider trading Norman Powell? I say no until they know about KPJ and what he's capable of. I'm a big Norman Powell fan. He's a bucket. He has had a 40-point game and a playoff game for the Clippers in Game 3 against Phoenix and gave them a chance to win without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Problem is, he doesn't offer a lot more outside of his scoring. Now, I don't want to make the mistake of giving him the Chris Carter treatment. He only scores touchdowns. That's all he can do. All he can do is score and act like that's a bad thing or act like that's not probably the most important skill set you can have. It is, but he's not a great passer. His defense hasn't been great, even though I think his potential is much higher. And there's just not a lot else there if he's not being a bucket out there, if he doesn't have a shooting stroke. Now, he shot 44% from 3 last season, guys. He helped form the Powell Rangers, the Clippers' best lineup. He forged it. But if he's the 6th man again, and it looks like Kevin Porter Jr. is available and not suspended, and is also showing off scoring potential, like when he was getting 19 per game for the Houston Rockets, and also as being a playmaker out there. And he has really high potential because he has a 6'9" wingspan to guard guys on the perimeter. In fact, I posted a video the other day at Follow Adam A, if you want to check it out on X, on Twitter, of some of his defensive plays from the 21-22 season with the Houston Rockets, where he's picking pockets left and right. And I'm not saying, those are highlights. They're not showing the lowlights. But he does have a high defensive potential, I guess, on the perimeter. He does. I want to see it as a Clipper. Like when he's focused there, I was listening to Dime Dropper earlier today. He had a guy on from Locked On Houston Rockets talking about his potential on the defensive end. And if you can get him motivated on defense, he can lock guys up. He pointed out a game where he was very good against LeBron James defensively, Kevin Porter Jr. So his ceiling is higher than Norm's, I believe. But there's so much to be determined in training camp, and I don't think at this point you can really consider getting rid of Norman Powell when you're talking about needing to fill 24 points that you're missing per game with Paul George gone. Norman Powell's a big part of that, guys. I'm moving on from the PJ Tucker, Norman Powell conversation as I'm starting to lose my voice because I've been screaming too much. Evil Bot says, why am I showing this guy? He's using a picture of me. That's something I would have done back in the day, trolling wise. I think for the front office wants to see if KPJ and Kai Jones experiment works to trade Bones and PJ. If not, they're a safe blanket. I don't think it has anything to do with that, to be honest. I think if they could get rid of Bones and PJ, Lawrence Frank has talked about it. They've looked for deals. If there's one that makes sense, they'd be gone by now. Just hasn't happened. He brings an awesome shoe collection. Yes, he does. PJ Tucker definitely has that going for him. If you're a sneakerhead like Brian Seaman, you appreciate the shoe collection. William Blast will point out he's been done for 2 seasons. He's just physical. Well, okay. He has shown now for the Clippers, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense because Ivica Zubac might be the best defender against this particular player. But PJ Tucker against Nikola Jokic for the 76ers, his last season, he had some really good possessions against Jokic. Like, there is something there. But he's so bad on the offensive end, if he's not going to take threes anymore, he doesn't have confidence in his shot, he hurts you so much there. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it was game 3. Norman Powell had 42 against Phoenix in 2023. William Blast says, you need as many scores as you can get. Keep Norm coming off the bench for the remainder of his prime. Norm's under contract for 2 more years. There's no team option, no player option. But I'm just paying attention to see if Kevin Porter Jr. ascends and rises up here and doesn't get suspended. There's a lot of ifs going on. But I think he could, at some point, be a 6-man type for the Clippers. He has a 2-year contract. They believe in him. Coach Lue spoke very highly of his talent. Mentioned how you don't make $20 million per year if you aren't talented. That's what he was getting before he blew it with his off-the-court mistakes and incidences that, you know, I'm sure there's going to be questions at Media Day about Kevin Porter Jr. It's a controversial, going to be scrutinized type of decision because of the domestic violence. And I understand it. So I'm not going to shy away from discussing that stuff. Can't take it that much further than that, but I understand where people are coming from. Some fans, you know, you don't like it. You want everybody, you want to be able to root for everybody on your team, and that makes it difficult. You can be conflicted. Other people just see the basketball player, and they just want to know if a guy has a high ability there. I don't, you know, look down upon either side of this type of argument. I think it's just personal decision and how you want to fan. JJ the Boy says, how many minutes do you think Jordan Miller is going to play in these preseason games? Heavy minutes for Jordan Miller. I'll give him, when I say heavy, I guess I mean relative to what he could get in the regular season. I think there's a good chance he plays around 20 minutes in a few of these preseason games. I believe they have 5. I should know that since we're doing all of them on the radio starting October 5th in Honolulu, Hawaii, Clippers and Golden State Warriors. I'm excited for that. Myself and Carlo Jimenez will be on the radio side for you. I think pregame starts at 3. Clippers countdown. Jordan Miller, guys, I want to see when he's going to bump his head on the ceiling. You keep putting hurdles in front of this guy, Jordan Miller, and he keeps leaping over them. Now, the biggest hurdle is just playing and carving out a role in the NBA. But so far in the G League, where last season he was getting 22 per game, was the 8th leading scorer in the G League, was dominating. That's too easy for him. Summer League, too easy for him. Should have been the Summer League MVP. Let's see what he can do in the NBA. Let's see what he can do at this level. Because there are levels to this. I just want him to be challenged because it's going to bring out the best in him, and it's the only way he's going to learn. And I don't know what he's capable at the NBA level. Was his hot shooting during Summer League from three an aberration? Was it an outlier? Or can he turn into a Nicholas Batum type, a versatile defender that has a quick release on catch and shoot threes? That's what I'm wondering. Who do you think is getting the last two-way? I'm trying to think who has the first two. Is it Jordan Miller and Trenton Flowers? If somebody wants to hit me up there. As I read this text I got from Charles Mockler regarding Terance Mann, as we've kind of veered out into all these different areas, and I'll answer this question. We'll get to all your questions here. It's Friday. We got S to do. Just hanging out. It's good to be with you guys. But this all centered around Terance Mann getting paid. It was broke by The Athletic and Shams Charania. He got a 3-year, $47 million contract extension with the Clippers. That's about $16 million or just under per year. Here's Justin Rousseau on this. He said, Mann is slated, Rousseau, to occupy 10% of the Clippers' projected salary cap in the 25-26 season, while Zubac clocks in at 11.7% of their salary cap. Add in Derrick Jones Jr.'s flat $10 million salary for that season, which comes in at a meager 6.5% of the cap. And you have three projected starters for the Clippers, taking up a grand total of only 28.2% of the available salary cap. Three projected starters. Factor in Chris Dunn's $5.4 million for that season as well, and key rotation players see their cap percentage jump to 31.7%, a figure most teams would be willing to live with. Guys, this is a team-friendly deal. For the casuals out there, who was that one guy that was talking a little bit earlier? Got too much wind in his jaws? My guy right here. For the casuals out there that think this is somehow an overpay, man, learn the cap situation. It's not at all. Don't look at so much the number, what someone's getting paid. Look at the percentage of the salary cap they are taking up. That's what's important. And Terance Mann is only going to be accounting for 10% of the Clippers' projected salary cap, not this season, but next season. That's big. Ivica Zubac at about 12%. Ooh, we got a paying customer here? Is this somebody? Yeah, who got into the super chat. Gave me $10. I don't deserve that. Thank you. Jolie Rowe. Hope I pronounced that right. Please correct me if I was wrong. Adam, I want them to bring back our sixth man who gave great points production that play well with Harden or Bones with a pick and roll. Play Montrezl Harrell. You're talking about bringing back Montrez? Montrez is playing for the 36ers right now. I believe that is an Australian basketball team. The Adelaide 36ers. I am a big Montrezl Harrell fan. Big Montrezl Harrell fan. And yes, he was one of the many players to wear a Clippers uniform and become a Sixth Man of the Year winner. He won it in the 2019-2020 season, the COVID year, bubble championship. And Montrez wasn't right for that run. He had to leave. He had a death in the family. And he never really got his basketball legs back in the bubble. It was unfortunate. I don't blame him. You know, Doc Rivers was playing him when he didn't look right. And they had Ivica Zubac, who they probably should have been playing more against Ivica Zubac. There's no probably about it. He should have been. Zubac should have been playing against Jokic, excuse me. That was the guy who should have got more minutes in that series against Denver, and then I think the Clippers win it. But was lethal in the pick and roll, and that's what Jolie Rowe is referring to. Lethal. Those guys mastered it in the 2018-2019 season before the 2-1-3 connection came, and they kept it going off the bench for the Clippers. I just don't know, because of all the knee injuries Montrezl Harrell has had, where he's at physically right now. I was actually watching highlights from him from just a few days ago, and we can watch this together with the Adelaide 36ers. Montrezl Harrell. This is where he's at right now. I will share the screen because this is almost nostalgic for me. It's kind of weird. It's not like he has been a Clipper or not been a Clipper that recently. We're talking about 4 or 5 years ago now. But here is Montrezl Harrell with the Adelaide 76ers just from 3 days ago. I've been keeping an eye on him. And when you pay in the super chat, this is the type of treatment and premium treatment you will get here on Clippers Talk Live. Highlights from Montrezl Harrell. I love Trez. I used to love saying Monster Trez. His energy, his emotion that he would play with. Look at this guy, letting out primal screams, as Brian Seaman would say. Ooh, he got up there. Went to the floor afterwards. I'm guessing somebody's going to pick him up at some point, and this is his opportunity to prove that he can still play by playing international ball right now. He's a grinder. He was someone who used to play year-round during the summer all the time. He and Lou Will at runs. Like, that was a constant for this Clippers team. Harrell was a dog. On offense, I say that affectionately. I used to call him the Dennis Rodman of offense because of his motor and his energy out there. So infectious, so contagious. Montrez came into the game, gave him a jolt immediately. So, depending on where he's at health-wise, of course, I'd love to see Montrezl Harrell return. Problem is, he's just about a year away from tearing his ACL and meniscus. Usually that's a 2-year thing to get back to where you were. He's still relatively young enough. I want to say he's about 30, 31. Yeah, he just turned 30 in January. So, he's getting closer to being 31. But I like the thought. Jolie Rowe, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the love here. Appreciate everybody that's in here right now. Here's somebody asking a question about, this is one of our listeners from Japan. Honored. Do you think KPJ defense overall is overrated? Not sure what you mean. But I'll say this about Kevin Porter Jr. and his defense. I don't know why I didn't bring it up earlier. I should have. I tweeted this out the other night because we were talking about him and his defensive potential and how he can project on that end dip in one of our most recent episodes. And I think Will said jokingly, does he have a defensive highlight tape or something like that? And I wasn't sure if he did either. So I went on YouTube and yes, there was one. Here is that tape with Kevin Porter Jr. playing some pretty darn good defense. Highlights. The offense, obviously the starting offense, that one's not going to work. Picked up. It means we're a good defensive team. That doesn't mean an individual defender couldn't have been good, though, as he gets the block there. This is a Rockets team. The last line of defense from KPJ. He's a very good athlete. Here he gets the steal. And this is the pickpocket. Ooh. With the little two-handed rim rocker there at the end. That was on Steph Curry. Just picked his pocket, lint and all. Now this is him getting back in transition and taking it away after he had, I think he threw up an air ball from 3 there. Here's Steven Adams. So he comes in on the double team and creates a little bit of havoc and creates a turnover there. Here he is on the perimeter once again. Ooh, just taking candy from a baby. So I don't think, look, and we end the highlights here with a block against the Lakers. I don't think, you can say there's Definitely not something to what he can do defensively. Because he's only listed at 6'4", but guys, he has a 6'9" wingspan. And that's what intrigues me. That's what leads to him having the length to be a wing and play great defense on the perimeter if he wants to. A lot of it, I think Pat Bev has said this before, defense is 90% effort and want to and drive. Does he have it? Does he have something to prove? Coach Lou said he's going to coach KPJ hard. JJ the boy says, I'm very interested on the defensive upside lineup of Harden, Dunn, Jones, Leonard, and Zubac. Yeah, and you could swap in Mann for Dunn. And they're still fine. Guys, I've been saying all offseason, they have to be a top 8 defense at worst. Last season, they finished 17th defensively. This season, with the personnel they have, with the guys they brought in, top 8 at worst. If you want a chance of staying out of the play-in, that is. And I think they want that chance. Mark Jag says, DJJ will be the starting 4. He used to play the 5 in some lineups when he played with the Bulls. I think when Kawhi is available, he'll be at the 4. He'll be guarding 4s. 4s will be guarding him more than Derrick Jones Jr. just because he's so slight a frame. Yeah, those Bulls teams weren't very good. But he can play some 4. There's no doubt about it. Look, I think he could slide up to 4 on nights where Kawhi Leonard's not available. If they're not putting Batum in the starting lineup, maybe you just slide up Derrick Jones Jr., slide up Terance Mann to the 3 spot behind him with DJJ at the 4, and then have Norman Powell at the 2 next to James Harden for more scoring because you're lacking Kawhi Leonard. That could be an option. Jay says, I called dibs on any giveaways, Adam. I know you. There's early enough to ask for one and stay late enough to get any left behind. LOL, I'm ready for the Clippers basketball. Same underdog, new dog house. Hey, dogs in the house? Yeah, I don't know if I'm giving anything away. Oh, the hater raid apparently is running thin. Someone's saying they're a Jordan Miller fan. Hopefully he develops. Todd Tate says, watch the role players play in the Rico Hines B-ball at UCLA. They look decent. Tell me more about this, Todd. Who did you see? Who were the guys there? I think KPJ was there. I know James Harden has been there. I think Kai Jones has been there. JJ the boy says, to be honest, I'm mostly interested in these upcoming preseason games in Jordan Miller's performance. Me too. I'm telling you, they won't be able to stop him from getting minutes if he plays well in training camp and in the preseason. They will have to give him an opportunity. He's knocking on the door. That ain't my DoorDash. That's Jordan Miller. He wants an opportunity. He's starving for one. And it looks like, by all accounts, he could be earning one soon. Big RR64 says Miller did a good job in Summer League. He should have been the damn MVP of Summer League easily. He beat, who was it? It was Wilson from the Brooklyn Nets, who was granted a higher draft pick, Jalen Wilson. But the Clippers beat them head-to-head. Jordan Miller outperformed him in that game. The Clippers went to the Final Four, last 4 playoff system they have in Summer League. His team went farther, so he had more individual success with stats, with head-to-head record against Jalen Wilson, and with team success going further. And somehow he didn't get Summer League MVP. They gave it to Jalen Wilson. What, because he was a Jayhawk? What is this Kansas bias, Brian Seaman? No, you're not the Harvard of the Midwest. Clips or Die says probably Kai. Not sure what that's referring to. My guy, Jay, we traded Miller to the Spurs. No, Brandon Boston is with the Spurs. Slow your damn roll. You're about to get Clipper Nation in a panic here. They didn't trade Brandon Miller. Chill. Lord, spare me from the casuals. Clips or Die says Flowers and Miller are the 2 ways. That's what I said. That's what I said. Trent Flowers and Jordan Miller. I don't know. Is it going to be Kai Jones? Is that who Clips or Die was referring to? Yeah. Kai Jones has basically a camp invite, non-guaranteed contract. He has everything to prove. And I know there's a lot of Kai Jones lovers out there, and I am intrigued by him, and I'm rooting for the young man. He went through some mental health issues, and I'm hoping that part of his life, he's more well-grounded now, and he's doing well because there is a ton of potential there. But I just want to say this. He's only averaged a 2-2 so far in the NBA. I mean, when the Clippers picked him up at the end of last season, there were seriously people out there saying Kai Jones was going to get playoff minutes. This was the missing piece. Like, y'all are crazy. I'm sorry, but he's averaged a 2-2. He hasn't proven anything outside of a dunk against Victor Wembanyama in the NBA. Potential is there. I want to see him fulfill it. I would love to see him compete for the backup 5 with Mo Bamba. I think that'd be great. We'll see what happens. William Blast points this out. I thought he was leaving. Does Ty Lue let young guys play if they earn it? I don't think he's afraid to play young guys if they're not going to look like young guys out there, if they're not going to be liabilities out there. They gave Kobe Brown a 10-game sample size last season. He wasn't good enough. Now, he got better and progressed, and I felt like was better his last game during that stint than his first game, where the game sped up for him. You could see, I remember he had a closeout on Klay Thompson on a three-pointer. He was fouling a lot. That's been an issue for Kobe Brown. That's something to monitor. But they gave him a shot on a team that had 4 Hall of Famers. So there's going to be more of an opportunity this season to play some of the young guys. Big R64, I never disagreed with you. Go check out my receipts at Follow Adam A. Evil Bot, speaking of Adam A, I really think that besides Miller, Christie will be a menace in due time. Evil Bot, Adam, in due time. Cam Christie, guys. Killer Cam. Cam I am Christie. I'm so hyped for him. I don't know if this is going to be the season, though, he breaks into the NBA or plays anything close to significant minutes, just because there's a surplus of guys in front of him. It's really hard to do. And he's 19. He only had 1 year of college, but he has a real NBA skill already. I've identified it. I believe in it. His three-point shooting is real and spectacular, and I think it's already there. It is impressive as hell. I've compared it to somewhere in between. His shooting stroke is somewhere in between these two players. Michael Porter Jr. and Devin Booker. Doesn't mean he's going to be as good as either of these two guys. High likelihood he won't be. But his shooting stroke, his form on his shot, his elevation is insane. He can get that up over anybody today. But I don't know about all the other little things you got to do as a young player. That's the problem. Jay Bose asks, when would Terance be trade eligible? Some are reporting he already is. But you guys need to chill on that stuff. You're upsetting me. This is about praising and celebrating Terance Mann. He got paid. The age of man is upon us. I've said it once. I will say it again. Clips or Die says the cap will only continue to go up. Thank you, Donnie. No, I mean, it's a good point. It's an obvious one, but it is a good point. Mark Jag says, Adam's so humble. He must be mocking me, or he doesn't know me. Todd Tate, JBose84, he is eligible for trade now. That's what I just said. That's according to people from ESPN. Amin Ashan says, Adam, stats predictions for each Clipper starter and their percentage from the field, effective field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and three-point percentage. I ain't got enough time for that. I want quicker questions here. We'll do that individually with more player profile-like shows. Andy81293 says, saw a tweet that said Terrance's contract can immediately be traded, but why can he be, but Zoo can't be for the rest of the season? For that, I will try to find something from maybe my guy Lucas Han. Don't call him Han. He's been really good with salary cap stuff like this and why one guy could be eligible Another guy couldn't be, but unfortunately, he's not helping me at this time. I don't know. I don't know the intricacies and the idiosyncrasies all the time when it comes to an evolving salary cap structure and CBA. I don't know why Mann on extension would be trade eligible, but Ivica Zubac is not for this season. He's got the Lauri Markkanen thing where he's out of the equation. Can't trade for him. This is interesting. Here's a quote from Terance Mann, according to Mark Spears, about getting the 3-year, $47 million extension. $47 million extension to Terance Mann happens today. Terance Mann says, quote, super excited to re-sign with the team who has been with me from the beginning. It's been a great 5 seasons with this organization, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Awesome. God, I love T-Man. How can you not love T-Man? You probably do. There's only one guy in here. There's a couple of haters. There's one guy who I may have kept a receipt on and said take the L today, who's always talking about Amir Coffey, who I love too. But it's Terance Mann who's going to get that starting spot before Amir Coffey would, who really struggled, unfortunately, in that series against Dallas. Amir is almost the forgotten man right now with this Clippers team, by the way. Really, really is. We haven't talked about him nearly enough. Maybe Amir could be the odd man out and be moved. I don't know. I hope not. I don't want to deal with that. Rafa Mentue. Trez calling Luka a punk-ass white boy was out of line. Yeah, maybe you felt like that. He apologized. They squashed it. I get it. That happened in the bubble in 2020. It was like 4 years ago, man. Big RR64 says, I miss watching Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell pick and pull. Pick and roll? Yeah, we all do. I want them to retire sweet Lou Williams' number at some point. And I don't know why he spelled Harold. Maybe because he could dunk like Harold Miner. He's getting those guys confused. A friend from Japan says, Trez hates too many, but Doc is responsible for that. What? I don't know what that means. I moved by a lot of comments here from Amin into thoughts on Trenton Flowers. I don't know much about him. He was playing in Australia, I think, with the 36ers. And he has a broken wrist, which is going to keep him out of training camp. We just heard that from Coach Lou, or his recovery from the injury. And there are other guys with minor injuries we'll find out about probably on Monday or Tuesday or sometime next week. Someone's just giving me $5. Oh, that's JMI 1324 in the super chat. My guy, thank you. Blessings. Appreciate everybody in here, regardless if you donate to the cause or not. And I don't know if this is the human fund or the people fund, whatever George Costanza said. Evilbot Adam says, who you rather have Kawhi at, the 3 or the 4? This is something I asked Don McClain, Clippers analyst on Bally Sports, when he came on. If there's a difference in physicality or workload or taxation on the body and that right knee and how taxing it is, if you're playing the 3 versus the 4 in today's NBA, which is pretty much positionless, and it really just means more positionless than it's ever been. I don't want Lob Murray to come after me unless he wants to come into the chat, because I did invite him here. That's what it means. But my thinking is, if he's playing the 4, he's guarding more 4s and he's closer to the basket, and there's probably less movement and running around and less explosive movements with him having to chase guys around the perimeter. Now you could say, well, he still ended up with a knee injury by the end of last season. He did. Swelling after 68 games. But those 68 games, most he had played since 2017 with San Antonio. So maybe there is something to him playing the 4 and not having to cover as much ground, because they have these Sport BU cameras in every arena now, and they track, and they also have, digital technology in New Jerseys that track everything. So the Clippers know exactly how many more miles or how many more feet you have to cover, ground you have to cover per game, playing the 3 versus playing the 4 for Kawhi Leonard. So I think they're, exhausting every avenue to make the best decision possible so there's less wear and tear on the right knee, guys. It's not lost on them. Trust me. Mark Jag says, I didn't know Trez was that young. Yeah, he's still just 30. He can recover from that injury. I want to see it. William Blast, I don't know who he's saying this about. Says he has great hands. He's a quality defender, very fast and quick. I think he's talking about Montrezl Harrell. Trez isn't a great defender. He said quality. I'd say he's slightly below average. There's the hater. KPJ needs a solid vet to keep him locked in. Yes, he does. There's plenty of those guys on this Clippers team. Mark Jag says KPJ has so much potential. I'm going rapid fire through these comments now. We got to catch up a little bit, so I'll try to be quicker with some of the answers. JJ the Boy said, if PJ Washington can become a menace on the defensive end for meaningful basketball games, why not KPJ? Why not? He expanded on that, or Mark Jag expanded on that point, saying KPJ is explosive too. We know. Big RR64. Adam, they're going to be top 3 in defense. Don't worry about it. Doubtful. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. They could be. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Here's the reason I say they won't be top 3. We don't know if Kawhi is playing game 1 yet. What I would venture to guess is that he's playing none of the 16 back-to-backs. So therefore, he's missing either game 1 on that a first half or a second half of back-to-back. There's 16 of them. That means he's missing 16 games at least. That puts him at 66 games. I don't think Kawhi is going to be necessarily available enough for their defense to be that good consistently, to be a top 3 defense in the league. That's my logic. Top 8, we'll take. Amin said, we lost a 22-point per game score. That doesn't grow on trees, and it's not easy to acquire. Accurate. That Mexican said, what's the preseason lineup? It's going to fluctuate. That's not exactly something that's in the game notes already. JM1324, who was in the super chat, give me $5. Oh, he's guessing of guys who could play. Interesting. A chat within the chat. Here's a question for me. Amin says, Adam, last season, which wins were you most proud of and which losses haunted you the most? For me, it's that loss of the Timberwolves 118-100, that loss of the Bucks 113-106, and that loss to the Lakers. The 21-point fourth quarter blown lead to the Lakers by far is one of the worst losses in the 2-1-3 era. Maybe the worst regular season loss. They're the team that would always come back on you. And that happened to them. That was disheartening. That was hard to see. To have a team come back on you in 9 minutes when you're up 21 points is insane. I hated that. That was really frustrating. It felt like a turning point in the series between the Clippers and Lakers and the regular season series they've had that has been dominated by the Clippers the last 10 years. In fact, they ended up winning the all-time hallway series in the regular season by a couple of games. They beat the Lakers more times at Staples Center and Crypto than the Lakers beat them. Believe it or not. I'm going to grab a Gatorade here. I'll be back in 2 seconds. My voice is failing me. Hey, you guys still here? All right, cool. Who's this? Are they talking? Oh, I give you S, Adam, but I really do appreciate you doing these pods. As a Clippers fan, we've never had this type of coverage. Attention. Thanks for taking the time. Real talk. My guy. Fist bump. Ghost fist bump. Virtual fist bump. I have committed, and I said this yesterday on the podcast on the Clippers Talk Live with Carlo Jimenez, your radio voice of the Clippers. I've committed to this. When the regular season starts, there will not be a day where I don't have some new content here on this channel on YouTube at Clippers Talk. There will not be a day. If there's a day I don't have something new up for you, it's because of two things. I'm dead or I got fired. It's only one of those two things. Even if I do lose my voice like I do routinely during the season, and this might be good for me to get some preseason reps in with my voice because it is starting to fail me only an hour and a half in here as I've been talking a lot. But I got your content right here, as VTB would say. I'm going to have so much for you guys this season, I promise you. I'm committed. I love Clipper Nation. Even the haters, even the guys giving me S, even the guys using me as their avatar in this live currently. That Mexican says, that's his name. Assuming KPJ goes off, would you trade Norman Bones and Tucker at the deadline? For who? Give me the name they're trading them for. And then I'll tell you. A lot of stuff's going to be on the table. What's the record near the deadline? You got to add a few more things in there. Give me a little bit more context of this hypothetical. Christie can also play defense. Jolie Rowe, who is a super chatter. Jolie, I picked up on that too in Summer League. That was one of the most heartening things because the knock on Cam Christie was that he's too slight a frame. He doesn't have an NBA body yet. He's not physical enough. Guys are going to punk him. And I saw him give great effort defensively. I put up multiple highlights at Follow Adam A on Twitter during Summer League of him locking guys up, getting steals. I couldn't believe the defense Cam Christie played. But it's still just Summer League defense. Those aren't NBA players he was guarding for the most part. Still encouraging, though. The effort was there. Adam, thanks. This long stream, although you looks tired. I get that a lot. Not tired. Trying to stay awake. I got my Diet Mountain Dew like I'm Skip Bayless. You guys give me energy. Yeah, that's just how Adam looks. Dude is eating like 50 calories a day. JJ the boys, not lying. I'm at about, 500 calories in so far today. Will I have dinner? Who knows? What sustains me is Clippers basketball. That's what I run off of. That Mexican Nar says, does Kawhi guard the second or third best player? In the starting lineup, he's going to be guarding the third best player if any combination of T-Man, Derek Jones Jr., and Chris Dunn are out there. Any two of those three are in the starting lineup with him. He'll guard the third best guy until there's big moments like we saw last season where he guards Steph late in the ball game or Jamal Murray and wreck that pick and roll like he and Zubac did with Murray and Jokic and clamp Steph Curry like he did late in the ball game. Save him and his spectacular all-world defense that he still has in him for big moments. That's something Lawrence Frank made a point of at the presser on Tuesday, saying, this is something where you're trying to build a team that can insulate Kawhi a little bit more, save him from himself, save his legs a little bit more because he doesn't have to run around and guard the other team's best player, second best player. He can guard their third best player now because they have so many good defenders with the way this Clippers team is constructed. Sky says, Adam, who do you think is guarding Book and Durant on opening night? I think Derek Jones Jr. on KD. I think Terance Mann will be on Devin Booker to start because I think that both those guys will be in the starting lineup for the Clippers. That's a perfect example. So Kawhi doesn't have to start guarding either of them. In other moments, yeah, he will. But for the most part, let those guys, sick those guys on the other team's best players because less is asked of them on the offensive end. So they have fresher legs. They're also younger. Derek Jones Jr. and Terance Mann, they're not having to do so much on offense like Kawhi is, so let them expend more energy on defense. JM1324 says those were the guys who were at the Rico Hines run. Oh, he was pointing that out earlier. Let me see if I can find that. PG was there? This past season? Adem Bona out of UCLA? Gotcha. Kobe Brown was there? Gotcha. Yeah, that Lakers loss, it haunts me a little bit. Not too much, but Other people don't want to remember that either. Too much PTSD. Cannot let Lakers fans win. Frankie Boy 9. Man, Adam, I hate how some Clippers channels talk bad about Kawhi or our front office. You're the only channel that is always positive with our team. Thanks, Adam. I wouldn't say always positive. Like, I have things I've criticized plenty. I've had frustrations. Here in this episode, I've criticized PJ Tucker starting a must-win game plenty of times. I don't know if anyone should be criticizing like Kawhi. He doesn't want to be injured. I always say this, but what is he supposed to do? Scream at his knee? Don't be injured, knee. What do you want the guy to do? He's injury prone. It sucks. If you're mad about the contract, was he not supposed to take it when they offer it? How can you blame Kawhi for this? He gave his ACL trying to win the Clippers a championship in 2021. They likely do if he doesn't tear his ACL in a Clippers uniform. I feel terrible for the guy. It sucks. Yeah, I know you say, well, he's still getting paid. How bad can you feel? Guys, he loves playing. That's what he loves to do. He obviously doesn't have many other hobbies outside of recording skateboarders and stuff. Like, he is a basketball junkie, Kawhi. He loves it. It's his passion. He wants to play. He wants to win a championship for the Clippers. He doesn't want to be remembered as an injury-prone player, which is, unfortunately, that's what he's being defined by right now, is injuries. Through no fault of his own. From playing hard on both ends. Evilbot Adam says, like and subscribe if you are a real Clippers fan. Facts. I'm starting to like this guy. I thought it was a troll at first, but I'm kind of getting into it. Jay keeps asking me, have I seen my seat yet? No, I have not seen my seat. I have been to Intuit Dome. I have seen the glory. I have seen the promised land. But I wasn't getting a tour of the broadcasting section at that time. So it'll be new to me once we're there for a couple of games during preseason. We're also going to be at a game in Oceanside where the G League Clippers are now. They have a preseason game there. I'm sure it's a nice seat because there isn't a bad seat in the house at Intuit Dome. You don't have to call Steve. Chill. Don't worry, guys. 0 calories. JJ the Boy says, I hate Joe Ingles. I've watched that play many times. I don't think there was anything that dirty Joe Ingles. Hot take. I don't think there was anything that dirty that Joe Ingles did. Honestly. Yeah, the game was out of hand. I don't want to revisit this. I don't want to go down this road anymore. My God. MKXLNT says, what up, Adam and Clippers fans? Nice Friday surprise. Surprise. Terance Mann, $47 million 3-year extension. Congrats to T-Man. You love to see it. Haters in shambles. Clips or Die says, people that act like Kawhi doesn't want to play and is scamming the team is a ridiculous take, as if he has control of him getting hurt. Just bad luck. Thank you. Facts. Preach. Go on. More. Who's this McCants? Amin says, bro, McCants called Kawhi overrated. LMAO. What? You know who's not overrated? Kawhi or this man, La Murray?
Yes, sir.
Oh, the Athletic. Oh, swinging in like Superman out of nowhere. Is it a bird? It's a plane? No, it's La Murray here to save my voice because I've been talking for a damn hour and a half on this Terance Mann contract. Everybody in the chat, show La Murray some love. La, thanks for doing this, my friend.
I figure, you know what? You must be crazy if you're still talking about this, Jones.
Well, you know I am.
So, like, I picked the wrong day to get a cut
I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue, the wrong week. Little airplane shout out for you. La Murray is with us at La Murray. The NU is where you find him. La, did you just drop an article or are you still working on that with the Terance Mann extension?
I did my work first, man. I wasn't trying to mess around with that.
So,
So shout out to Shams. Shout out to the Athletic, as always and as usual. But someone got to write the damn thing. So so yeah, I was on that piece. But you know what though? Like I've written a Terance Mann extension story before, so it's not like I ain't know what I was doing. I've been here before.
it doesn't mean it's a copy paste job. It just means La wasn't surprised by this happening.
Honestly, I probably should have been a copy paste job. Like it was damn near the same month 3 years ago. I remember I was dealing with the worst toothache ever. And I was coming from Ontario, California. Horrible trip, horrible game. I was in so much pain, I didn't even bother driving the night after the game. I booked a hotel just so I could sleep. And on my way back to LA from Ontario, that's when Terrence signed his new deal. So that was 3 years ago. And a lot of people look, criticism is criticism. Y'all can say what y'all want. A lot of people think that Terrence hasn't grown at all since that deal that he signed 3 years ago. And that was pretty much what I wrote about. It's like, that ain't the case. Y'all ain't been, Terrence has had to deal with a lot of role changes, and I think he's handled them well, and he's gonna have to handle another one this upcoming season because the talent is different, expectations are different, but it's great for him that he doesn't have to worry about this contract decision hanging over his head anymore.
Do you believe, and I want you to expand a little bit on that thought when it comes to people saying his game has not evolved, he hasn't developed further. What I just saw in that series against Luka Doncic, where he held him 40% from the floor, about 20% from the outside, to me, that is the pinnacle of his defense so far. And in a high pressure moment, that's the best defense he's ever played to me. Like that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm going to say though. Like Terrence has to do more on that end of the floor
I
next year,
agree. He's
and I
got to be
think
more consistent.
not just more consistent, just more impactful. You know what I mean? Like I think that the team has addressed something, and we saw that earlier this week. They addressed something that they felt like was an issue last year, the year before that, the year before that. I don't think they felt good about their point of attack defense since Patrick Beverley was last on the roster. So uh, now you got three guys who are not named Terance Mann that can hopefully handle more of those responsibilities. Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, Nicola Batum. That means that Terrence is Terrence is in the Paul George role in terms of you're off the ball more, you're guarding up. You need to, he needs to do two things. He needs to rebound more, and I think he is capable of doing that, especially if he's starting at the guard spot. But he's just got to make more splash plays. I don't question Terrence's effort defensively. It's about effectiveness. It's about impact. He's got the length. He's got good hands. He can do those things. But now, he's in a competition for his starting job. Like that's a real thing. And so we got to see how it goes.
Does this deal, I don't know, tip the hand of the Clippers at all when it comes to that starting two guard spot? To me, Terance Mann does have the inside track since, he started 71 games last season for the Clippers. Does this tell you anything with what happened today regarding if he has, I don't know, a little bit more of a margin of error for holding on to it?
Yeah, I think that T. Lue gave him a very nice compliment. He outlined what he wants from that starting job next to James Harden, you know, he was very detailed about it in a way that he usually waits to be detailed about things. You know, he said he wants someone to make shots, someone to attack the basket, someone who's going to consistently guard, and someone who's going to make plays. And so that's a lot of things. And one of those things that he didn't say that Lawrence Frank said was they need rebounding from Terrence specifically. But in general, T. Lue's looking for a slasher, a playmaker, a shooter, a defender. And then he said Terrence has been great at all those things. So the incumbent is Terance Mann. The favorite is Terrence, and Terrence just got his deal. So in other words, it's Terrence's job to lose, not any other way around.
How much of a team-friendly deal do you view this as? Because to me, when I see our guy Justin Russo point out that next season with cap projections, Terance Mann's contract will only take up, 10% of the salary cap. I thought maybe he'd get 18 million. Outside chance he got 20 million per season, or closer to what Zoo got, around 19 million. And it's just below on average 16 million uh,
Yeah,
per year.
yeah. I feel like I I feel like talking to people close to Terrence, they know that they probably could have got more money if he would have went into the open market next year. But they also feel like Terrence isn't really, concerned with that the difference between what he's going to make and what he probably could have maxed out on his value is relatively, negligible. Terrence was entering free agency, and we just saw a very strange free agency period this past year with the new CBA. We saw guys who are going to start for teams next year who didn't get paid, who are really good players. I think of a Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. was traded for Norman Powell. What team does Norman Powell play for?
That would be currently your Los Angeles Clippers.
Exactly, right? So, two guys who play the same position that Terrence plays. Norman is older than Gary. Now, obviously, the Blazers gave up more than the Raptors did in the trade to get Norm. And then the Blazers wound up paying Norm. The Raptors wound up paying Gary, right? Those contracts, not exactly the same. Norm got a little more, but the Blazers got out of that deal quick. He wound up getting traded to the Clippers once they kind of saw that they weren't looking like a playoff team. The Raptors, deal that Gary just signed just expired. And Gary could have extended while before that contract expired, but they didn't reach a deal, reach free agency. That dude was stuck without a chair when the music stopped, and he winds up in Milwaukee. And shit, that's a great situation as far as the team, the players that he gets to play with. The role that he'll probably be in is very close to the role that he was up there in Toronto. But he's on a minimum, on a 1 year deal. He's got to try again next summer, right? And so, like, when you look at those kinds of situations, you go, okay, I got something on the table here. Do I want to mess it up next year? And again, next year's Clippers roster is volatile. I can see a number. Terrence is the best example. He can tell you, you never know what the hell is going to happen, especially in his role. A guy like him, he could start, he could come off the bench, he could have the ball in his hands a lot, he could have his ball in the hands very little. Injuries could happen. He got hurt last year, right? He won the starting job last year coming out of camp, but right before the season opener against the Blazers, he sprains his ankle. It's not a garden variety sprain. He misses 2 weeks. By the time he comes back healthy, that wasn't the same team that he won the starting job from. Okay. He won the starting job against guys like Nicola Batum and Robert Covington. By the time he came back, James Harden's on the team. And they're trying to start Russell Westbrook next to James Harden, which meant Terrence had to play his first 4 games last season coming off the bench. Anything can happen, right? And so Terrence, feel like you understand these situations. And I felt like it was more valuable to Terance to take the money and take the deal now than to mess around for a few extra dollars to leave somewhere, elsewhere.
We got La Murray from The Athletic joining us here on another Clippers Talk Live for the third time in a couple of weeks, and I am happy to have him. La, the door has always been open for him. I mean, he's the law. He can just kick it in himself if he needed to. But I want you guys right now to open a tab, go to The Athletic, sign up. It's well worth it. You'll probably get some introductory trial run for 7 days. If you don't like it, but you will, you can, cancel your membership. But you want this type of coverage all season long
You
from
really
the
got me on
law.
here telling people cancel shit. Come on, Adam.
No. I'm just saying, like, there is no risk. You got time to give it a try, see if it suits you, and it will. I'm so damn confident that you will stay all season long because things start Monday. Media day starts. That's like the first day of school. We all get to see our friends. Law, I'm guessing you'll be in Hawaii with the squad?
Oh yeah, I'll be in Hawaii. I'll be in Seattle. If I hook up a ride, I'll be everywhere I need to be before week one. So that's the plan.
So Law's going to be there, boots on the ground, covering this team in Hawaii, Seattle, Oceanside, throughout the preseason and throughout the entire regular season, and hopefully into the playoffs with this squad. And there's no better read and no better writer in the game. He is well sourced. He and Shams have been breaking news left and right as of late for The Athletic. So Law, we talked about Terance Mann not only having the inside track. I like the way you put it. It's his job to lose. Do you think Derek Jones Jr. is the guy playing next to him with the 2-3 in the starting lineup? Because most people are just assuming that, but Coach Lue made it very apparent that there is competition for spots, and Paul George is no longer here, so there is one other slot open.
Yeah, I mean that's where I've been sliding for now. I think Kawhi's status makes things challenging on that front just because I think a lineup with Derek and Terrence, James, Kawhi, and Zoo, I think that makes sense. Um, I think that if Kawhi is not available, that's where things get a little tricky because then I feel like you need more juice offensively. And whether that means you slide Norm in, that's cool, but that makes you that legitimately makes you kind of small because then you talking. I'm not worried too much about Norm, Terrence, um, and James playing together. It's just the fact that like, especially if Derek's your point of attack guy, like your wings are you're a little small there. But I won't be surprised if that's what T. Lue does. I feel like
That was
a
my
lineup.
guess earlier. I said they'll just slide up Derek Jones Jr. to the 4, Terance Mann to the 3, put in Norman
Yeah,
Powell next to James Harden.
yeah. Like I feel like that's one way they could do it. I think offensively it could work. Defensively, I'd have concerns. The flip side to that is a guy like Nicholas Batum, him coming in, if Kawhi is not there. And then it's like, but if you start Terrence, Derek, and Nico, I feel like that's defensively. I think that's a pretty decent lineup. I'd have very little concerns about guys being able to guard in that kind of setup. I think offensively it would be a mess. That's just too many guys. That's just too much pressure on James. Unless Terrence is really about that life handling the basketball, which I think he could be, but that's where everyone needs to see it. The most growth from Terrence. It's not about his ability to play on the ball. It's being in a higher volume role. And he has shown he can scale up. Like that January, February run in 2023, people were very excited about what Terrence was able to do in that spot. I was only telling people two things. One, Paul's doing most of the playmaking, even though Terrence was the nominal point guard. And two, the Clippers defense, and actually there's a third, the Clippers defense was not very good during that stretch, even though they won games. And three, the other thing that wasn't very good was their ability to operate in fourth quarters offensively. Like Paul was dragging, Reggie was the more effective player in a lot of those fourth quarters compared to Terrence. Just because all game long ball handling the basketball, if you're still in a close game, you could see it impact those guys. But the point is, if Terrence is in a role where he doesn't have to be the point guard, but he gets to handle the ball more, touch the ball more, that dude is shown that he can produce. And that's the team that is going to resemble itself next year. It was the same thing in the 21-22 season. Like, he came off the bench, but the main bench pieces for that team, especially in the second half of the year after the trade deadline, was Terrence, Luke Kennard, Robert Covington, Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah was the guy that they were playing through as far as a offensive hub, but the guy who was handling the ball a lot more was Terrence. So that's the team that you should expect to see, or at least the role from a touch perspective that you should expect to see from Terrence next year.
If he is starting, as we believe he will be again, how many minutes per game? Is he going to be up from where he was this past season? Because there are a lot of guys that could be getting opportunities. We talked about KPJ and what Coach Lou said about him, effusive with his praise Tuesday at the press conference. But last season, Terance Mann was at 25 minutes per ball game. Do you see that going up?
Yeah, not much, but I do see it. I do see it going up some. It kind of has to. Like, there's a lot of minutes. Like, Russell Westbrook, Paul George not on the team. It's just a lot of minutes that need to be accounted for. And, there's a lot of guys who have to play those minutes who were on the team last year, right? You didn't bring in that many high-minute guys. You brought in Derek Jones Jr. Derek is not going to play as much as Paul did last year. You brought in Chris Dunn. I don't see Chris Dunn playing a whole lot more than Russell Westbrook played last year. So you got Nikola Batum. I think Nico winds up taking pretty much the bulk of the minutes that guys like Amir Coffey and Daniel Tice played. Mo Bama's going to play not very much, but like, he's going to play the minutes where you got to stay with a center on the floor and Zoo's not on the floor. That opens everything up. And I don't think you can increase James Harden and Kawhi Leonard's minutes. If anything, you should be looking to decrease those guys' minutes. That means that the three guys who have to get ready to play more are Zoo, who we talked about before. I don't see him getting that many more, but he's got to play a little more. But also Norm and Terrence. And Norm and Terrence, nominally they play the same position, but it's not like those guys can't play together. But Terrence is more versatile than Norm is. So I think Terrence has to be in a position where, like, he's going to have to play more minutes than he did last year, easily.
Is there something too, because it has happened 2 years in a row, maybe for different reasons. Last year, you mentioned the ankle injury he was dealing with. But is there something to these slow starts from three from Terance Mann, or is it just fluky shooting variance, and there's no reason he can't start the season off hot this year?
Yeah, he's just got to – I mean, he's been working. I do think that the ankle definitely messed that dude up. So hopefully, for his sake, he's over it. But I think when it comes to Terance, man, like, he's just gotta be confident in his shot. Like, the 3-point percentage is one thing, but I mean, everyone has seen Terrence shoot good percentages from everywhere. The field, from three, the free throw line. It's the volume. Like, Terrence can't shoot for percentage anymore. Like, they need shots up. Like, they were dead last. We talked about this, dead last in catch and shoot threes attempted last year. I mean, that's one of the biggest criticisms you can have from Terrence's season last year. I can't tell you how many times we saw that dude pump fake, drive, kick, just because he thought, he could create a better shot for someone else. And you know what? Sometimes he did. It's a nice mindset to have as a pro basketball player to, pass up a good shot for a great shot. But this year, the best shot that team might take will be Terance shooting it the first damn time. So um, that's what it is. It's about volume. Need more attempts from everywhere. You're a good percentage shooter. You've been a good percentage shooter year over year over year. No one's worried about that anymore. People want to see Terance shoot the damn ball with confidence.
Completely agree with you. He's a 37% career three-point shooter on just over 700 attempts so far in his career. It's kind of proven, so he needs to take more. He started the first 25 games last season shooting just 21% from three, but the last 50 games he was at 44% and then shot 45% in the playoffs. An element to his game that I think is a little bit underrated. I know you're very much aware of it, Law. But speak to this guy in the restricted area, because last season he was only second to Luka Doncic in guards when it came to guys who at least took 150 attempts in the restricted area. Terance was at 75.7%, and the year before he was third in that area, only behind De'Aaron Fox and Steph Curry. He is a finisher out there.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back years, and I just wrote about this, back-to-back years where he's made better than 70% in that restricted area. So, I mean, and if you watch Terance play, like you see why that dude comes to the basket with force. He dunks the basketball.
Ask
He is
Gobert.
capable. He is capable of getting downhill and punishing. He just needs to do more of it. Damn it! Like that's really what it comes down to. Um, what you really want him to, if there is an area that he needs to improve when it comes to finishing, it's on the break. Like the Clippers can be a real adventure on the fast break, and Terance has been a part of that, a part of that adventure. So again, though, like just I think Terance is at his best when he's mad, when he's playing furious basketball, and he needs to play with that chip on his shoulder offensively more often. He needs to play like the team is down when they're up a little more often. I remember when we came home from Dallas after Game 4, series tied at 2, and people reminded him, it's like, I mean, you're 2 wins away from advancing. And Terance was like, I like to look at it as 2 wins away from our season being over, which, we know how the story ended there. But, like, he's just got to have that mindset of, you know, just tear the damn rim down. And I think he can get there.
As the great Geeter McGee once said, let's rage. Let's rage, Terance Mann. I think he was talking about Andre Drummond coming to the Lakers. But this is Law Murray on with me here on a Clippers Talk Live as we're approaching the 2-hour mark after the breaking news with Terance Mann getting a 3-year extension at $47 million, just under $16 million per season annually. So we had a question here for you, Law, and this kind of ties in. But Amin was asking, how do you think the Clippers can do in the absence of Kawhi Leonard? And he clarified and was asking, how do they try and remain over 500 if they are missing him for a chunk of time? And we know throughout the season on back-to-backs they will be. How does this team get by?
Defense. You just they have to defend. It's not negotiable. Like that's it. Like the how did they get to 42 and 40 3 years ago? They defended their ass off. With a team that didn't have, splash defenders. I don't think anybody on that team was close to an all defense award nom or anything like that. So that team defended smart and they defended with urgency because it was the only way they were going to win games. So that's the only way it gets done this year. They no matter how much Harden and Kawhi play, like I can see a scenario where James Harden and Kawhi play, and if they play lazy ass defense with those guys playing games, they're not going to win. So um, no matter who's playing, they have to defend. And how do you defend? I'm a Dean Oliver guy. I'm a four factors guy. So I'm always looking at 5 things. I'm looking at, are you forcing turnovers? You're on ball, forcing missed shots. your off-ball forcing missed shots, your rim protection, and your rebounding. In other words, can you stop guys from getting to the free throw line? Can you limit the amount of threes teams take? There's so many. You can't take everything away, but you have to understand what you're taking away and be consistent about it. And I've already heard the Clippers, they want to be consistent about getting back on defense, getting into their half court sets, making teams take tough shots, and ending possessions with rebounds. And that's my biggest concern with this Clippers team going into next year. They have a lot of subpar rebounders. Derrick Jones Jr. is subpar rebounder. Terance Mann, we've already heard the call to action with him. Norman Powell, one of the bigger concerns about Norm. I actually thought Norm was good defensively last year. If you don't believe me, look at all those Power Rangers lineups that you kept talking about. Like, one reason it was effective is because Norm was effective defensively with those guys out there.
He was better.
No, I don't think Norm's issue is sitting down and guarding. It's the splash plays. Are you forcing turnovers? Are you ending possessions with rebounds? Look at Norm's rebounding numbers. Like, they have to all be better there. And so that's the question. I have a concern there. But Jeff Van Gundy, his priorities have always been to take away the paint. Look at who Jeff Van Gundy's disciples have been. His disciples. Tom Thibodeau was on Jeff Van Gundy's bench. What does Tom Thibodeau defenses look like every season? You're more likely to get an open shot than you are to penetrate the paint. So that's just what it comes down to. I think that team has to sit down, guard with urgency, get back on defense so that you're not giving up easy shots. But when you force misses, and I think this team can force missed shots, they have to end the possessions with rebounds. And because I don't think they'll rebound that well, I do think they have to be more active in passing lanes and force some more turnovers, even if it means they are allowing some more free throws. They have to just defend with urgency next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. They just don't have the personnel to be a very good to great rebounding team. Could they be above average? That'd be nice, but they got to do it collectively, and guys have to be more mindful of it. But you mentioned that team from the 21-22 season. They were 8th defensively.
Top 10.
They were less talented than this team. I'm saying this team has to be at least top 8. What do you think their full potential could be defensive rating wise this season? Somebody was saying that they're going to be top 3, Adam. And I kind of pushed against that because I don't know if Kawhi is going to play enough games for them to be top 3. And he is still one of their better defenders. If we're already assuming he's missing 16 games with the back-to-backs, that puts him at 66. I don't know about top 3, but could they be 5th defensively? Because last season, you look at Minnesota, Carlo Jimenez was on with me yesterday and brought this up. It was a great point. I forgot about this. Minnesota they were below average on offense all season long. They were a bottom 10 offense throughout much of the season. The difference was they were number 1 defensively by a pretty wide margin, and that got them to 56 wins. So where do you think this Clippers team could end up ranking defensively?
Honestly, I don't see a top 10 defense in this team. I think they can approach it, though. I think they can be better than they were last year. Like, I think they can be, on the better. I think they can be in the low teens. I think they can approach 11, 12, 13. What numbers are you looking at for Minnesota's offense, by the way? I don't recall them being bottom 10.
They finished 17th, I think. They were bottom 10 through a lot of the season.
Yeah. 17 sounds about right. In their fourth quarter, it's below average, but it ain't in the 20s. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
There were points where they were, but it wasn't 25th. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with Minnesota is too, they tricked a lot of games off. They were one of the worst fourth quarter teams in basketball. We saw that play out in the Western Conference Finals. Like, they had multiple games where better fourth quarter execution offensively, and that's a different series against the Mavericks. It put their defense in a spot where I don't care how good you are defensively, that team didn't execute, and good defensive performances through 3 quarters put them in a spot where games turn into coin flips. And I don't really want to coin flip with Luka Doncic. Okay, that three that he made over Rudy Gobert, that might replace the Reggie Jackson montage. Like that John was so bad. It had people thinking that the Mavericks won that series for a time. But nah, I don't think the Clippers are going to be a top 10 defense, but I think they can be better. Just like I don't think the Clippers offense, is going to be top 5 like it was last year. It's going to fall off, but I do think that there's a chance that the Clippers offense could be where the Clippers defense is. I think top 10 is a stretch, given the talent, but I think given the execution, they can be in the top half of the league. I do think that the Clippers net rating will be around 0 to 1, but I think that there's a pathway for them to be on the positive side of that and to be a decent team.
It scares me a little bit only because my theory is for them to have a chance to get out of the play-in, they got to be top 8 defensively. I just don't see another way because I don't think their defense to me might be ahead of their offense this year, which isn't great. But I've kind of come around in thinking that if James Harden is healthy, he is a system.
Like that's the thing. It's James Harden that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like you have to look at it like this. The defense is going to come down to the coaching. Are you putting the right guys in position? Do they know what they're doing? Are they going to consistently buy in? Are they going to get off the plane in winter when your bones is feeling a little different and you're still going to want to get those stops on the second night of a back-to-back on the road? That's what defense is to me. They have the personnel to defend pretty well. I don't think they have the personnel to rebound, but I think they have the personnel to defend and get those things done. Offensively, there's a talent, they're not working at the talent margin that they were in years past. However, they have outstanding coaching and they have James Harden. James Harden is not only good for himself, but James Harden is good for the team, the teammates that he has on that end of the floor. He's going to I just feel like there's a floor that comes with James on that side of the ball. So like they're going to understand. Here's like, for example, one of the things that always makes me mad is when people hate on ISO ball. Like, because it's not the quote unquote beautiful game shit that they got used to seeing from the 2014 Spurs or whatever. And I would say I would be right there with y'all, except that the Clippers had elite isolation players.
The top two guys.
So I mean, now your issue is, I think your issue is there are a lot of shot clock violations for the Clippers. Like if I go back and look, I think that the Clippers were among the top teams in the league in shot clock violations. Like they can't be that stagnant. They can't, rely on it. But goddamn, like they were a top 5 offense last year, even with the laziness of their offense for the most part. I know you flashed some bullshit about me hating on KPJ. Like, I didn't even read it. I just saw a few verbs, and I'm like,
now he said KJO.
There's a difference. There's a difference between hating and being realistic about a situation. We can get to that, but let me just finish this point about ISO. Like, if the thing that the Clippers do is they get matchups and they're like, we're just going to beat you with the same matchup over and over again. It's like eating beans and rice. You're not going to have a commercial about it, but it's probably going to be good for you to win games depending on your personnel. The personnel is different, so you're not going to see as much ISO ball. You're going to see a lot more pick and rolls this year. But I think that's what T. Lue does. T. Lue offensively, his philosophy is where are the mismatches on the floor and how can we exploit them to the point where you can't have those players on the floor anymore. Like if you got a big on the floor, we're going to go small and punish your big. If you got a tiny guard on the floor, we going to go small pick and roll until that guy is stuck guarding a guy he can't defend.
I have also found the ISO hating to be a pet peeve of mine because it's like,
look at who's in the finals.
Yeah, in every
Boston, Dallas, those are ISO teams, bro.
Every playoff game often resorts to a lot of ISO ball at the end. And the Clippers had the two top ISO guys in the league last season, Kawhi. And then down the list, it's Paul George. There was a gap. Kawhi was so spectacular in ISO when it came to points per possession.
And Harden was up there too.
Oh, yeah, he was second. Only second to Kawhi. So if you have the top two guys, you better do some ISO, and they finished fourth offensively. How can you complain with the results? If you don't like the style of play, I understand dime dropper. Darian Baziri doesn't. He doesn't like the ball pounding, but you can't say it's not effective. I don't think he does. All right. Law, do you want to
we can talk about Kevin real quick. I want to see this and I want to address it because I feel like I'm repeating the same shit and people aren't listening.
Let me read this because people could listen to this later on the podcast side. They won't see it. Jordan says, Law, stay hating on the defense, hating on our role players, hating on KPJ, even when straight out of the head of the coach, straight out of the head coach's mouth to lie, says KJO. KPJ is going to have a huge part in this team. Hating on Kawhi. Law, correct this man.
I mean, I'm not hating. I'm a realist about situations when it comes to how a season plays out, how a rotation gets put together, how a team is going to try and start a year. Like, you come out week one, and we hear it every year from T. Lue. Like, this dude, T. Lue, started Eric Bledsoe and Reggie Jackson together over and over and didn't change it until like 10 games or whatever it was, you know. I mean, just because he felt like that's what he was sticking to, that was his fit. I thought Terance was starting that year. It's like, no, we're going to start Eric, Reggie, Paul, Marcus, except Marcus's knee never got right. Sounds familiar with another power forward they're dealing with this year, and Zoo. So, you know, with Kevin's situation, people keep thinking I'm talking about the talent, and that's why I'm like downplaying expectations early in the season. I don't know, like, if he's going to be available to play in week one. I don't know. And
seems important.
It seems especially for a guy who wasn't on the team, especially for a guy who didn't play NBA games last year, especially for a guy who is on a team with a bunch of dudes who, it's not like you going back to the Pistons or the Hornets or the 2023 Houston Rockets, one of the worst teams in the basketball. You know what I'm saying? We talking about a team that made the playoffs, you know, the last couple of years, and a team that has real dudes competing for spots now. So, I mean, Kevin's going to compete. He's going to probably show out at some point. I just don't think it's happening early because there's some extenuating circumstances that still need to be determined. That's it. That's all I'm saying about that.
I think it's completely fair. I've agreed with you the entire time. I was a little bit surprised how much Coach Lue made it a point to say, hey, he's really talented. He wouldn't make $20 million if he wasn't. I'm going to coach him hard.
He wouldn't be on the team if he wasn't. If Kevin, not to be, again, this is kind of disrespectful, but it is what it is. We just got to say it for what it is. If Kevin Porter Jr. wasn't talented with what, you know, we're talking about off the court, we're not talking about him, period.
You're not getting other opportunities if you're not this talented.
Like, duh, of course he's talented. That's not the issue here.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. Ooh, I think we just got a Shams bomb. Your coworker. I'm gonna go to this and you can read it. And this is interesting here. Shams Charania of The Athletic, where Law Murray works. Law. Breaking news.
Yeah,
you want to read it?
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, Shams is saying the Minnesota Timberwolves are nearing a trade to send All-Star Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks, sources tell me. Ooh, I was wondering what would happen with him. I don't see how this affects the Clippers in any ways, but we knew the Knicks needed some help in the front court.
Where there's smoke, there is fire. I gotta mix some. I gotta do some things. So you have a good night, Adam.
All right, Law, you got work to do. The bat signal went up. Go get it. Appreciate you coming on. There goes Law Murray. Karl Anthony Towns going to the New York Knickerbockers. That is interesting. Yes, the Knicks are a problem. The Knicks were good before this. They had a little bit of a hole in the front court. This helps them in that area greatly. Wow. Now the question is, what are they giving up? Is it going to be a net positive if they have to give up a lot? And we just found out the trade package is centered around Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo for Karl Anthony Towns. Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. So, they're losing one of the Villanova guys to get Karl Anthony Towns. But I would say that is a nice fit for the Knicks. I like that fit. I've said for a while, I don't know about Julius Randle with this team. But now the Minnesota Timberwolves have him. All I know is I think Naz Reid, I like him more in the starting lineup in some ways than Karl Anthony Towns for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I do. I think it makes sense, and it could make both teams better. A little bit of addition by subtraction, because while Towns did step up in the playoffs and proved his worth, there were a lot of questions all season long if they could be better without him because of how good Naz Reid has gotten. Naz Reid, he's one of my favorite players. He is really good. I don't know if the Clippers won that trade. MKX, LNT, if you're assuming that Minnesota got worse because of this, I don't know if that is a fact. Minnesota was the 3 seed last season in the Western Conference. They're still going to be a top 3 seed. And I think it was an odd fit with Karl Anthony Towns. I think it could be better if they have Julius Randle coming off the bench maybe, or even him instead of Karl Anthony Towns next to Rudy Gobert. But Naz Reid, to me, this opens up more playing time for him, and that is a positive for them. Karl Anthony Towns in New York, I think it makes a lot of sense. They get back to having more of a stretch big like they had with Kristaps Porzingis, 6 years ago or whatever it was. But him next to Mitchell Robinson, whether or not Karl Anthony Towns is playing the 5 or they're going Robinson at the 5 and him at the 4, it's interesting. They're big. They're tough. I like the fit for both teams. Honestly, I do. Jordan says Cat is so good. They should have had to give up that bum Gobert. There's a reason France benched his ass all of the Olympics. Nasty-ass player. Rudy Gobert pretty much makes you a top 10 defense just having him on your team. Does he have limitations along the perimeter? Are there certain teams that can play him off the floor? Yes. But to call him a bum, it likely means you're a casual. I'm sorry, Jordan. You said that earlier, that mess you were talking with Law Murray. Didn't like that. Rudy Gobert, yes, he has his limitations. That doesn't make him a bum. He automatically makes you a top 10 regular season defense, and he still is very good at times in the playoffs. There's just certain times against certain teams where the matchups don't work. Evilbot says, are they playing Cat at the 4 or the 5? I'm sure he'll get opportunities at both. Because he can stretch the floor, he can play the 4 next to a big like Mitchell Robinson and not clog up the paint too much on offense. I think he'll probably start there. JM1324 says, I got to deal with the Knicks and 76ers 8 times this year. He's a Celtics fan. Can we be serious? What is life? F. This stuff is not Clippers related. Outside of Minnesota, I think just got slightly better. Honestly, I think so. Naz Reid is like that. Him getting more playing time is meaningful for them, and that's what this does. So I think it's addition by subtraction for them. It's addition by addition for the Knicks. Dante DiVincenzo, that's a loss. That's I don't worry at all about losing Julius Randle. I didn't like that fit, and he didn't show up in multiple playoff series for them. I don't trust him. People say they didn't trust Cat, but he actually played pretty well, and they do not win that series against Denver without Karl Anthony Towns. But overall, I think they might have a slightly higher ceiling now. We'll see. They still got to the conference finals. They got beat up there, but it's interesting. I first blush, I think both teams got a little bit better. Jordan says respect either way, even though he's calling guys bums and saying Law's a hater. We love this talk, and the podcast is great, keeping all of us basketball fans entertained. Blessings up, y'all. I'm way up. I feel blessed. All right, Jordan. We'll squash it. We'll leave it at that. Respect all the way around. I've appreciated you guys. This is the longest Clippers Talk Live I have done, especially because the majority of it I was going solo. It was great to have Law Murray in here to clean up any inaccuracies when it came to the Terance Mann conversation. And once again, I just want to say, because he is such a great ambassador and reliable player for the Clippers and a great young man who's now turned 28, I guess not so young, but a true pro. Congrats to Terance Mann. Really happy for him. 3-year extension, $47 million. It's still team friendly. It's still a great deal for the Clippers. And it's bird in the hand over two in the bush for Terance Mann. You waited out. You could not have a chair when the music stops, or by the time the music stops. That's what happens with Gary Trent Jr., as Law Murray so eloquently pointed out. Terance Mann was not going to let that happen to him. Take the money, get it done, a little more certainty, clarity, knowing that you're the guy that has the inside track and is the favorite to win that starting 2 spot. I think Terance Mann is going to prove haters wrong this season, however many, and they are the vocal minority. I think he is going to shoot a higher percentage from 3 than he did last year overall. He's going to average, I'm going to say, at least 10 points per game. And there are going to be nights where he shows off a lot more in his bag because it's necessary, because they need him to. And he's coming off a playoff series against the Dallas Mavericks, where, if you forgot, he held Luka to 40% from the floor. Oh, you want to point out Luka Doncic was a little bit banged up? Well, he got more banged up as the playoffs went along and still shot a higher percentage against guys like Lou Dort. Terance Mann did the best job against him that anyone did, while getting 9 points per game, shooting 45% from 3, getting 5 boards. So the rebounding was nice in the playoffs. He needs to do a little bit more than what he did in his 31.5 minutes per game against Dallas in that 6-game series in the first round last season in this regular season. That's what I'm saying. Someone did bring up EvilBot Adam said, if it could be related to Julius Randle coming to the Clippers and the Clips sending players to the Wolves. There's no indication of that, guys. That would be, I've talked about that a little bit. It's been brought up. I think Julius Randle will be an interesting fit. Obviously, you'd have your 4 then. You wouldn't have to worry about Kawhi playing the 4. But as I kind of pointed out earlier, I don't know if that's really more taxing or not than playing the 3. It's kind of arbitrary. It might be less movement, less miles traveled per game, less feet traveled on the floor per possession on the defensive end if he's playing the 4. It might be better for Kawhi that way. I don't know. I can't figure it out either way. But there's no indication that he's being rerouted or something, or any of these players are being rerouted to the Clippers. He didn't hold Luka. Oh, he didn't? He didn't hold Luka? Luka didn't shoot 40% in that series? And Terance Mann wasn't his primary defender? Do you need me to bring up these receipts? Is this how we're going to end things tonight? You want to see the proof in the pudding? I got it for you. Here's Luka Doncic, since some people are non-believers and still hating on Terance Mann. I don't know why you all try this. I don't know why you try this. Luka Doncic, yes, he got his 30 points per game. That's here. It took him 25 and a half shots to get there. Why? Because he shot 40% from the floor and 24% from three. And Terance Mann was his primary defender. Don't come at me with this stuff. You know I got the facts here. Don't even try it. Luka was hobbled. I just brought this up. He was more hobbled, Chico Johnson, as the playoffs went along, yet he was shooting a higher percentage against other defenders than he was Terance Mann. He was moving worse and playing better against Luke Dort and abusing him at times, something he wasn't able to do against Terance Mann. That's not a good point. My goodness. Too many casuals in here today. Oh, Amin's got my back. Yeah, I'll show it to you. I'll do it in real time. I don't care. I will embarrass myself like this. Terance Mann was healthier in the first round against, Luka Doncic was healthier in the first round against Terance Mann than he was as the playoffs went along, as he continued to get more and more banged up. Yet, he shot his worst percentage against the Clippers and T-Man. Against OKC, he was shooting 45% from the floor and 39% from three and was going right at Lou Dort. Against Minnesota, against all their good defenders, Luka Doncic shot 47% and 43% from the outside while being more banged up, and then shot 47% against the Boston Celtics. You can't use injuries as an excuse for why he only shot 40% against Terance Mann when he ended up getting more and more injured while his shooting percentage was going up against other teams as the playoffs went along. Sorry, facts, get out of here. Get out of here. Chico. Yeah, 30 points on 25 shots. The reason the Clippers were in that series is because of how inefficient Luka Doncic was. Terance Mann gave them a chance. He gave them a chance because of how good he was defensively. Do you not understand this? You can't deal with some people. Too emotional. Not me, though. Level-headed. You can tell. Fact hammer. And it wasn't a velvet hammer. Boom. MKXLNT said it. I got to get out of here. My voice is shredded. I appreciate all you guys for coming in tonight. And I appreciate the Clippers rewarding Terance Mann and for him being signed on a 3-year extension. I am happy for him. It is good to see Terance Mann in a Clippers uniform and that continuing. This has been a long-ass, almost 2.5 hour. We're almost entering Lord of the Rings extended edition of a Clippers Talk Live here because of the breaking Terance Mann news. But it was important to do because I want to remind you, when this stuff happens, I will be going live. You can count on me for that. I'll be reliable, and I will have, during the season, when the regular season starts, new content for you every single day on this channel at Clippers Talk on YouTube. Every day I'll have new content once the Clippers season starts, October 23rd at Intuit Dome against the Phoenix Suns. So I would subscribe. I'm going to be consistent. I don't care how shredded my voice gets during the season. I will be here. Believe that. Thanks a lot, Murray, for jumping in and coming on. We need a trilogy, Sal says. No, the Hobbit trilogy, that didn't need to be a trilogy. They didn't need to extend that out. Now Chico Johnson. Oh, he's spiraling. Oh, the Clippers will get eliminated for the play-in because he didn't like the fact that, well, the facts hit him square in the face and he looks bad now. So now he has to move those goalposts. Evil Bot Adams says, facts slap. I like this guy. Good looking, too. I will see you guys and talk to you guys next time. Monday, I will have at least one show for you. It's media day. I will be there. I can't wait to reconnect with a lot of people from the Clippers organization. We get to see all our friends and talk to the Clippers. I'll have some live streams for you. You also want to make sure that you get to me on Instagram and follow me there, because during the season, I will be doing a lot of live streams also on the Instagram side The Instagram handle is Clippers Talk. Follow Adam A. That's my Instagram handle. My handle on X would be at follow Adam A. My handle here on YouTube is at Clippers Talk. My handle on TikTok is at Clippers Talk. But on the gram, it's Clippers Talk. Follow Adam A. And I will be doing a lot of live streams pregame and postgame. Oh, more questions. Clips or Die says, are you going to live stream when you do Clippers Talk before and after games this season? Yes. Just answered it. Yes, this channel is super underrating Terance Mann. I agree with you. Our friends from Japan. Faker fans or something coming here and getting slapped by Adam with facts. Cook the frauds. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll eat for dinner tonight. Y'all are well done cooked, Chico Johnson. All right. Until next time, likely on Monday, unless there's more breaking news.